So, hi everyone. Welcome. I'm Sarah May, and welcome to our Thursday meditation. Feel free to post in the comments here, your name or where you're listening from, or just say hello. We'll get started in just about 1 minute. But so nice to see you all here. And again, I'm Sarah May. I am coming to you live now from southern Spain. And I'd love to hear where you're from if you want to say hello. We are live on Facebook and LinkedIn and on YouTube. And today we have about a 20-minute meditation on staying present with our emotions. And then I will stick around afterwards for a little bit of question and answer time and a little bit of discussion of the meditation that we just did. So, hi, Maxine from England, Sherry from Arizona, Iris from Amsterdam. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Simone, Detroit. Oh, yes, we got everyone coming in now, right on the hour. Yep. But from England, Los Angeles, the United States, yeah, all over. So great to see everyone here. India too. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome. So while we're kind of settling in here, find a comfortable place to do your meditation. If you're on your phone or if you're on your computer, maybe turn off notifications for a moment and just give yourself that spaciousness in which to sit and be relatively free from distractions. All right, we've got Ireland, Mauritius, Boston, Romania. So wonderful to see. So we have about a 20-minute meditation today on being present with emotion. And then we'll stick around for a little bit of time after that for some discussion and answers to your questions. So if you have a burning question, you can type it in the comments at any time. Otherwise, let's begin with a little meditation. So find a nice posture that balances comfort with a tall, upright spine. So you could be in a chair, you could be seated on a cushion, you could even be lying down. If you're lying down, perhaps eyes wide open so we don't fall asleep. But balancing comfort and finding a nice neutral spine. If you're seated, just let the top of the head align right over the center of the pelvis. Rest the palms face up in the lap. Soften the elbows and let the arms hang in a way that promotes nice soft shoulders. Maybe take a few deep, slow breaths in and out through your nose. And eventually returning to just a natural, easy breath. And today, let's pay particular attention to the sense of support that we're currently receiving in this space. So that could be the support of your chair or your cushion, the structure underneath you, the support of the earth itself. Maybe the support of the body itself. Supported here by the structure of the bones and the muscles and the flesh. Maybe you feel supported by the rhythm of the breath. And just the steadiness of this life-giving force, which requires no effort on our part. And so, in what other ways do you feel support in this space right here, right now? Perhaps the support of gravity or space itself, holding you and caring for you here. And in this moment, keeping you safe, keeping you held, keeping you supported. Now, with that felt sense of support, gently turn your attention to energy within the body. And just ask yourself what type of energy, what emotions are present here, right here and right now. An open-ended question. What emotion do I sense in the body, through the body itself, right here and now? So we do our best to let go of words, let go of labels and descriptions. We do our best to let go of story and instead just connect through the body, through felt sensation. What emotions are here? Perhaps choosing one to work with today. Could be the emotion that first draws our attention, or maybe an emotion that's a little more quiet than that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one we might label as negative nor positive. But what's here? Just working with what's here. And then asking the question, how do I know? How do I know what emotion is here right now? In what way is this emotion calling my attention? How is it that I feel or sense this emotion? Maybe there's a shape, a size, the temperature, and where is this emotion in the body? Do I sense it throughout the body as a whole? Or is it more concentrated in one location? And the answer to any of these questions could always be both or neither. We're just asking the question, what emotion is here? And how do I know? In what way do I feel this emotion, sense this emotion in the body? And whatever is here, can I welcome it in this moment for this practice? Can I welcome this emotion? Allow it to be. Can I give it permission to be here without needing to do anything? No need to react. Nothing needs to change. Can I allow myself to simply be just as I allow this emotion to simply be? Here I am being held in this space. Emotion is present and I am simply observing. And if I'm having trouble being present, staying with this emotion, what would it feel like to offer this emotion a little kindness? To offer that kindness to myself? What might it feel like to offer grace? Or could I even offer gratitude? Can I, on some level, give thanks to this emotion? Feel thankful for its presence. For this emotion has something to teach. It has something to offer, and it's not here without purpose. So I continue to get curious and to allow myself to sense into this emotion, allowing this emotion to be here, to be acknowledged, to be felt, to be listened to. And as you continue to observe this emotion, to get curious about the way in which it arises, the way in which you sense and experience it. You might already have noticed that there's some movement to this emotion, that within this emotion there is change. Maybe it's changing in shape or size or location. Maybe this emotion is moving from warm to cool or back and forth, or changing in color, or just the energy of the emotion itself could be changing. And again, both and neither always an option. Maybe it's still here exactly as it first was, and that's okay too. Can we allow for this emotion to just be right here, right now, as it wants to be? And can we let ourselves just be too? I don't need to do anything to force change. Can I simply observe and continuing to remain present with this emotion, curious about this emotion, just right here and right now. Still offering kindness and grace and maybe even gratitude, both to this emotion and to myself for my efforts here today in this practice. And so maybe having done this practice, this particular emotion has moved on. Maybe it's still here. Whatever we're working with, we can just let it be as we take a few deep breaths and slowly open our eyes. Come back to the space around us. So, welcome everyone. Stretch things out a little bit if you need to. Shake things out if you need to. Move gently with the body. After that, about 20 minutes of sitting. I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Penny says, "What emotion are we on?" Penny, you can always go back to watch the video from the start, but the invitation was just to check in with any emotion that you happen to sense or feel or notice right here, right now in the body. So that was the exercise. And when we do these meditations on mindfulness of emotion, we don't have to choose an emotion that's negative. We can, of course, work with joy. We can work with happiness or love or any other positive emotion. But generally, I think we find if we're, interested in mindfulness, meditation practice as a way to ease a bit our own discomfort or pain or suffering. We might settle on an emotion that is a bit uncomfortable for us. And if you're new to the practice, you know, choose something that's a little bit workable for you, right? Maybe don't go straight to the most challenging emotion. Although there are some days where we feel quite prepared to do that. In this particular meditation, we spent some time before sensing into emotion. We just spent some time grounding and checking in with a sense of support. um, so thank you, Ria. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, Sherry, everyone for your comments, Monica. Um, yeah, we're working today on just this practice, and I want to emphasize that it is a practice, this practice of being present, learning to be more present with our emotions. And the invitation was to work with whatever emotion we choose. And a really good way to decide is just by asking yourself that open-ended question, just what's here? What's in the body right now? Generally, there could be more than one emotion present. We might not notice that at first, but there's generally, more than one thing going on in the body, in our minds, in our awareness. So yeah, again, you could choose to work with the strongest, loudest, most overwhelming emotion, what's on the surface, and really apparent. Or you might check in on a little bit deeper level and ask the question, what's here that's a little more quiet, perhaps. So I did want to, if you guys have any questions, please, of course, type them into the comments and I'll get to your questions. But I did want to talk a little bit about why we do this. Why practice mindfulness of emotions? And I love doing this exercise with any meditation we do, just checking in and go, why is it that I'm doing this? Why mindfulness of emotions? If you have your own ideas of why it could be of benefit to practice mindfulness of emotions, I'd love to hear from you guys if you want to type that in the comments. But I have a few ideas of my own. um, I think, why do we experience emotions? First of all, I think our emotions have something to teach us, right? It's a way in which we get energetic feedback that teaches us kind of about what's going on in the world and what's going on in our field of awareness. And emotions can kind of draw our attention to certain things on perhaps an energetic level that the cognitive thinking mind might not be readily aware of, you know? Um, so when we practice mindfulness of emotions, we can open a little more clearly to the message that the emotion is trying to teach us, right? I feel like emotions arise with a purpose. And the more we can develop, deepen, our emotional intelligence, as you might call it, emotional awareness, right? The more we deepen our vocabulary for emotions, the more we can understand the nuance of emotions, and we get much better at reading emotions and understanding, what is their role here, and what is this emotion trying to teach me, trying to tell me, what needs to be done, and how can I most appropriately react. Catherine says, I was bothered by a dream last night, and this helped me feel into how my body was responding. Yeah, sometimes we just come up with this kind of sense of like, oh, something's bothering me, and mindfulness of emotions can help us tap into like, well, what is that? Why? And let's describe a little more the sense of being bothered, what is bothering? What is uncomfortable? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it grief? Sometimes we're even bothered by emotions that we might label as positive, right? Such as joy. Is my joy inappropriate? Is my joy warranted? Am I worthy of joy, right? So I think mindfulness of emotions can help us just expand our language and our awareness of emotions, and connect a little on a little more deeper level to what the body is actually feeling. Yeah, Jackie says, I just stumbled on this. Declan says, well, there'll be further sessions. Yes, the same time every Thursday. So this same time every Thursday. And Penny says, yeah, I believe our body never forgets. Yeah, so mindfulness is healing and helping me with trauma. Yeah, that's a really good why, right? Why practice mindfulness of emotions? Um, and yes, Declan, I don't mean this session will be saved, so you can always go back and listen to it later. But yeah, Penny, yeah, for anyone, why mindfulness of emotions? Yes, it can help us with trauma. You know, uh, our emotion is energy arising, right? And if we don't have a way to kind of acknowledge or express that energy, if it's not safe for us to express that energy kind of gets held back, and it does get trapped, and it does get stored in the body. Vernon mentioned stress. Well, when stress happens, the body has a reaction, And if it's not safe for us to express that fight, flight, or freeze, and if we don't, we can't react, we can't discharge that energy, right? That arising, stressful energy, right? And that energy does remain if it's not discharged. And if it remains, it builds and it builds and it builds. And suddenly we find that our baseline, our base ability to handle stress is no longer down here, but it's way up here. And the smallest, tiniest thing can set us off, right? And then people are like, well, wow, what is wrong with her? That was just a little thing and she exploded, right? Which can even further make us feel like it's not appropriate to express our emotions, and the cycle continues, right? The cycle continues. So mindfulness of emotions can help us connect a little more deeply to like what actually is present right here, right now in the body. And when we connect mindfully to what's present in the body, we are more likely to respond to that presence in a way that it feels safe, that feels appropriate, that is like necessary, and we can help those emotions to discharge and to flow and to move on, right? Ordinarily, if we're not mindful of emotions, what happens, right? We react. We mindlessly react. And in that reactivity, we do a lot of harm to both ourselves and to others. So mindfulness emotions, another reason why practice mindfulness of emotions is to soften a bit our reactivity to emotions, so that we can do less harm ourselves and harm others less. And, work with our emotions in a more appropriate way, right? Let yourself cry. Let yourself, you know, love. Do what you need to do in an appropriate way to safely express your emotions so that that energy can flow, right? Because really, our emotions are movement of energy, a movement of energy. And when we're not mindful of that energy, or, we usually do one of two things. We either try to attach to that energy, which we label as good, hold it in place. I want the good energy. I don't want it to go. I want it to stay here. So I grab, I attach, you know, yet that's impossible to do, right? The nature of energy is to flow. So that attempt at grabbing and attaching only causes me further pain when the energy does flow and change and move on, right? Or I don't enjoy the energy, and so I make attempts to avoid it or suppress it or ignore it, right? And that too is a method of preventing energy from flowing, right? And if I keep avoiding and keep suppressing and keep ignoring, well, that energy too is going to get blocked in a way, and it will remain and it will build, right? So I think a lot of our role with this mindfulness of emotions, with this practice, is to recognize what type of energy is arising and to allow it to do its thing, right? Energy arises, energy lasts for a while, and then energy dissipates again. And that's just the natural flow of energy. And mindfulness can help us go with that flow versus fighting against the flow, right? Whether we're fighting against that flow by attaching to it and trying to stop the energy, or whether we're fighting against that flow by ignoring or avoiding the energy, right? So, you know, illuminating our emotions through this practice of mindfulness can help us work with our emotions, helps our emotions to become a little more workable, and it softens a bit the power our emotions have over us, right? Um, when we say things like, I am sad. I am angry. I am overwhelmed, right? There's something about that language that is kind of like, um, attaching us to the attaching our identity to the emotion, right? I am overwhelmed. Like, overwhelm is my identity somehow. I am pissed right now, right? That's my identity somehow. And I think when we do that, when we, even if we're not necessarily conscious of it, by attaching our identity to that emotion becomes like, it feels a little more solid, feels a little more unchanging and permanent, right? Becomes part of who we are. And with this practice of mindfulness, we can chip away at that a little bit, right? Because if I am sad, for example, and yet I can observe my sadness, well, then how can sad be my identity? How can I be sad if I'm also able to observe my sadness, right? As if from a little distance. So mindfulness and this act of just simply getting curious and observing and going, what is the emotion that's present here, and how do I know? What is it like? What is its shape? What is its size? What does it feel like? How's it expressed in the body? Where is it located, right? That practice can put a little more space between what we think of as us and what we think of as the emotion, right? So it no longer becomes, I am angry, but this little sense of, oh, look at that. Anger is arising. I just noticed this energy of anger and it's coming up. And here I am, though, apart from it, and I can observe and I can watch and I can ask some questions. And in that spaciousness, I become a little less reactive and I give myself space to work with this emotion in a way that is a little more workable, right? And a little more kind, and uh, most likely does less harm to myself or to others, right? And in that space, the emotion also has the space to do its thing. And as we said, emotions are energy, and if we leave energy to do its thing, eventually it's going to dissipate. Eventually it's going to dissipate, right? When we try to stop energy by attaching or avoiding, uh, you know, where energy is held and we're going against the natural flow of things, and that can cause a lot of pain. But when we allow energy to flow by shifting back and just going, isn't that interesting? What's going on here? What emotions are present? What's arising? Well, then we give energy a little more space to flow and to do its thing, right? Um, that said, I do think that it is, good to remember that the goal of mindfulness of emotions is not to eventually rid ourselves of emotions, right? The goal is not to rid ourselves of emotions, and the goal is not to eventually never experience what we might call a bad or a wrong or a negative emotion, right? Uncomfortable emotion. That's certainly not the goal, right? But the goal is to become more allowing for the full range of this human experience and for the full range of our emotions, um, and to get better at being present with all of it, no matter what, right? No matter what. Because emotions will always be there. Emotions arise, right? And we can't, please don't try to prevent emotions from arising. Please don't try to stop your emotions from arising. This is part of the human experience, and all of our emotions, all of them have a role to play in, calling us to be increasingly mindful of our circumstances. Um, but through mindfulness, we can get to the point where we are no longer, just consumed or overwhelmed or overpowered by our emotions, right? We can get to the point where all of our emotions become workable on at least some level, um, and productive in at least some level, and worthy of our gratitude at least some level. We can certainly get to that point, right? One other reason why we might practice mindfulness of emotions is because the better we get at being present with our own emotions, right? The more I expand my capacity to be with my own emotions, no matter how uncomfortable they are, the greater my capacity to be present with the emotions of others, right? So if we want to be helpers in this world, it really benefits us to expand our capacity to be present with our own emotions, because the more we can do that, the more we expand our empathy, right? The more I understand my emotions and increase my emotional vocabulary and increase my emotional intelligence, the more capable I am of empathy and understanding perhaps what another might be going through. And the more I can stay present with my own uncomfortable emotions and my own discomfort, the better I can be there and be present with others when they're going through that same discomfort. Um, and I would hazard a guess that everybody that is listening to this live stream right now has an interest in making this world a better place and has an interest in being a helper versus helpee. And, that's one very, very good reason why to practice mindfulness of emotions. So, um, yeah. So if you're just jumping on, uh, we are on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube today. And we're here at this same time every Thursday. Also Mondays at 8 a.m. Pacific time in the US. And today we're talking about, building our capacity to be present with our emotions. And if you missed the meditation, you can always go back. This video is saved on all of these platforms, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So you can always go back and rewatch the meditation or re-listen to the meditation from the beginning. But if you'd like to do this practice at home, which I really encourage you to do this practice on your own without a guide, here's what we did. We just spent some time settling in to our seat, to our posture, to our breath, and just sensing in to a sense of support, right? When we're working with emotions in these meditations, we really want to feel like we're in a safe place before we do these meditations. So we find a quiet place, we find a place where we're relatively free from distractions, and it's really powerful to just spend a little bit of time sensing into safety, sensing into support, and the fact that you are being held right here, right now, wherever you are, right? So we spent a little time with that. And then we just asked this open ended question, what emotions are present right here, right now in the body? And how is it that I know? Right? How is it that I know? So we just kind of turned attention inward and applied this curiosity to the body to sense into emotions using the body itself. And why do we do that? Well, our emotions come with a whole lot of story. Our emotions come with a whole lot of story. And so sensing into emotions through the body can help us do our best to let go of that story, to let go a little bit of judgment and self criticism, and maybe the typical like words and labels and descriptors that we use for certain emotions. And we can just, when we let go of all that, when we let go of the words, the judgment, the labels, the junk in the head, in the cognitive way of sensing into things, we sense to the body and we sense through the body itself, sometimes that can allow for some new possibility, right? When we let go a bit of the story and we just go, what am I feeling through the body itself? Where is it? Is it overall? What type of energy is it? What size, what shape, what temperature? Is there like a color or just a type of energy, right? When we sense through the body, we can perhaps sense with a little more openness, a little more spaciousness, and that just opens us to experience emotion in perhaps a new way or a more nuanced way, right? When we let go of those stories. So we did spend some time doing that in our meditation. And then we asked the question, after sensing into emotion, we asked ourselves the question, whatever it is that I'm noticing right now, can I welcome it? Can I welcome it and can I let it be? And can I let myself be as this, awareness that notices this entity that is noticing the emotion, right? So once I've established, emotion is here and it's clearly not me because I'm over here observing it, right? Then the question becomes, well, can I allow myself to just continue to be the observer? And can I allow this emotion to continue to be here if that's what it wants to do, right? Can I allow it, that energy, to move and to do its thing? And can I just watch without interfering, right? So many times we try to interfere. We try to grab onto the emotion or we try to push away the emotion, right? We try, um, to ignore the emotion. Can I remain? Can I allow the emotion to remain in whatever way it wants to remain? And can I remain as the witness? And we just see what happens. We ask those questions. And when I think when we're doing these meditations, whether you're using a timer or not, it's important to remember that the goal here is not to rid yourself of that emotion before you open your eyes, right? Um, the goal is just to get to know your emotions better. Just get to know your emotions better. And, when we get to know our emotions better, our emotions become more workable. We can more appropriately respond to our emotions. We're able to more appropriately respond to the emotions of others. So this is just a process of discovery, a process of curiosity, right? And if we find it really difficult to be present and to allow emotions to be present, to allow ourselves to be present with them, don't forget, you know, some self compassion, some compassion. Can we approach this practice with a bit of kindness, with a bit of grace? You know, maybe that's where we start. Maybe someday we can even approach this practice with, sense of gratitude. You know, um, it's quite easy to be thankful for those moments of happiness. But yeah, thanks, Melanie. But what if, we could be grateful even for those moments of anger, right? Wow, I just noticed that anger was arising in a really, really big way. And I am so grateful because it's telling me something about the situation that I am in right now. It's telling me something about what I'm noticing right now. It's this energy is present for a purpose. And if I'm mindful as anger is arising, um, I have a much greater chance at discovering what the real purpose of anger is in this moment, right? And I'm less likely to react in an unhelpful way, and I'm far more likely to respond in a helpful way. So, you know, that's why we practice mindfulness of emotions. And I kind of went on a tangent, so let me just give you guys again. If you're doing this practice at home, really simple. Set yourself up in a quiet, safe space. Spend some time checking in with a sense of support. You are being held here. Ask yourself that open ended question. What emotions are here right now in the body? And how is it that I sense those emotions through the body and I get curious? You know? And then I ask the open ended question, whatever's here, can I allow it to be here? Can I welcome it? And can I let it just be? And also, can I let myself be? Can I stay back as the observer? Nothing here needs to change. And can I just allow this emotion to do this thing as I watch and continue to apply kind curiosity? And then when it's time for the meditation to close, perhaps we've witnessed some movement, some change, and that emotion has dissipated and it has moved on. Um, maybe it's changed or moved a little bit, but maybe that emotion is still here, and maybe it's still here in a really big way. And that's okay too, right? That's okay too. Because having done the practice, we've at least learned a little bit more about that emotion. We've softened a little bit the power that it has over us by shedding some light on that emotion and deepening um, our awareness of what that emotion really is, right? That emotion is just a rising, a movement of energy, but it has purpose and it is here for a reason. And let me give you a little hint. That reason is always to guide us towards awakening. That reason is always to guide us closer to awakening. So, whether our emotions are labeled as positive or negative or good or bad, they are always here um, to help us get a little bit closer to the truth. So, thank you so much, my friends, for joining us here today to work with being present with our emotions. This is perhaps among the most valuable work of mindfulness practice, right? When we can become more mindful of our emotions, we really do a lot to prevent harm. Emotional reactivity is is the source of a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in our world right now. And if we can learn to become less reactive and more mindful of our emotions instead, um, we have a great opportunity to prevent a lot of that pain and suffering. So I know you guys are here to help. And yes, this is about self improvement. But the more that we expand our capacity to be present with our own emotions, the better we are able to be present with the emotions of others. And the more we can help this world become a better place. Yeah, Melanie, that is so powerful. Wow. Yeah, it's so powerful. When our anger gets the best of us, God, we really do a lot to hurt ourselves and others. And so working with our emotions and practicing this mindfulness is such a powerful practice, right? It's about more than feeling good. It's really about changing the world. So thank you guys so much. We're here at this same time every Thursday, and you can always go back and find the meditation that we just did. This video will be saved on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. And thank you so much just for your presence here and for your comments. You have no idea how much your comments help others who might not be feeling as courageous, So you have no idea how much your comments help everyone, how much your presence helps everyone. And, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be here doing this. So thank you for showing up and for supporting others in their practice. And we'll see you next Thursday. And until then, be mindful and continue to practice on your own, even if it's just checking in with the breath for a minute or two each day, right? Do what you can do, stay with the practice, and keep going. Thank you, friends.